an elderly gal, very sweet, yeah.
So what was she, 40?
She was 82. Yeah, we got her in. Everything was good. I'm writing up the ticket. She noticed, well, it's 5 o'clock. Do you want to do a shot to celebrate? And I said, yeah, sure, I'll do a shot with you to celebrate. This is back in my drinking days. And then I realized that she didn't pull out a shot glass. She pulled out a coffee mug.
Welcome to Access Granted, a peek inside the real-life stories of physical security professionals. Now, here are your hosts, Justin, John, Ryan, and Brandon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Access Granted. I am Brandon. I'm here with John, Ryan, and Justin. And today we want to go over a topic of emergency locksmith services. A lot of people had questions about who to call, when to call, how much it's going to be. So we thought we would just do a whole episode covering basic topics like that.
Yeah, and we kind of wanted to touch on it this week, mostly because we've seen in the news lately about locksmith scammers. And most of the time, people who are getting scammed in the locksmithing industry is coming from an emergency lockout.
So, Ryan, when you're locked out of the house most of the day, it's a lot of people that have went to work and realized that they locked, so if you tell them it's not going to be till the afternoon, they say that's fine because I'm at work anyway. Automotive, it's pretty more... A lot of it, I would say 90% of that is emergency.
Oh, yeah. If you can't get there within 5 minutes, even though your shop is 35 minutes away,
yes,
they're going to be mad and tell you cost too much. And
where do we fall pretty much on the average of the U.S. of, like, our pricing? I mean, we're Midwest. We're not New York. We're not, like, California or, like, Las Vegas has a lot of, of the high-end $100,000 vehicles. We're kind of in the $30,000 to $40,000 vehicle range.
And our pricing is fairly consistent too for openings. It's at $85 for a car opening.
Yeah, Ryan's right. We are pretty consistent. It's $85 for a local car opening, so in the greater Quad City area.
And then for our typical house openings, we're usually looking at about 130 or so, and that's Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5. Now, if we still do emergency services after hours, but just like if someone was to call you to go back to your office and do another hour's worth of work, what would you want to be compensated?
Yeah, it does come with time and a half at nights and weekends, and holidays do come at double time. And we do realize that when we're opening a house, we're meeting people at a bad time, right? It's not our favorite time to meet people and build customer bases through lockouts. And some people do get upset with the fact that it's over $100. But, I have to be able to make a business and be able to support everybody's families.
Right. And, my favorite thing to say to them as I'm leaving is, or when I walk up to them is, hey, how's your day going?
Yeah, because it's way better for you
Every
now.
single time. It's pretty bad. Yeah, pretty bad right now.
And it also invites that, that human-to-human person like, hey, clearly you're in a bad state, but how's your day going? And then that kind of gives them a chance to vent to you while your back's to them and you're just kind of doing what you're doing and they're just kind of going off getting all their frustration out. And then by the time that door opens, their frustration's gone. They're very happy with you now. And a lot of the times they don't mind paying, a lot of those lockouts like that, they even try to tip you more than the service call. And so.
For tipping you, that's only in shots from old ladies?
Well, I tell you what, those 4:30, 5 o'clock calls, you don't know what you're going to expect after that. Yes, I had an elderly gal, very sweet, but yeah.
So what was she, 40?
She was 82. Yeah, we got her in, everything was good. I'm writing up the ticket. She noticed, well, it's 5 o'clock. Do you want to do a shot to celebrate? And I said, yeah, sure, I'll do a shot with you to celebrate. This is back in my drinking days. And then I realized that she didn't pull out a shot glass. She pulled out a coffee mug. And then she just kind of pouring it. And then, oh my God. So I did that with her, everything was great. She starts trying to pour me another one. I'm like, I don't like where this is going. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You have a good evening. We've never heard from her again. But
the older ladies do love you.
I don't know if y'all have seen me. I'm like 5'9", 150. But back in the days, I was, young, skinny guy, and man, old ladies just, you talk to them, you say dear and gal, and they will.
They'll go for it.
They will hook, line, and sinker that.
This kind of is a decent segue because with openings right now in the headlines, like we were talking about, predatory locksmiths do tend to get people that are in need, and then they upcharge people drastically. We have actually seen it here in the greater Quad City area, where somebody had they called a local number where what they thought was going to be a local locksmith, but it ended up going to a call center, and it said something like Davenport Locksmiths or Rock Island Locksmith, and it goes to call center, and they get somebody, and then 45 minutes later, somebody shows up, and they walk up to the door and says, "Oh, this is a difficult lock, too hard I have to drill it," and they destroy all the locks on the door, and then give the customer a outrageous bill to the tune of $700 or $800. Like we were saying before, the service is going to cost you. We don't do it for free unless there is an actual true emergency or an entrapment, where there's a child that locked in a car, or we will offer it sometimes to a dog. Otherwise, my grandfather would roll over in his grave and haunt us. But the service is going to cost you, but it shouldn't be so much that it breaks the bank, and it shouldn't be the cost of a new door at that point.
No, you should actually. I mean, we can give you a pretty good estimate up front exactly what it should be, and we can hold pretty close to that.
And I would say all of our guys, either picking it or using a leashy, can pretty much get into any residential door without having to drill it. A lot of those guys say, like Justin said, they come up and say, "Oh, that's just a hard lock." That's because they don't have a pick set. They don't have anything. They knew exactly when they were coming there, they were going to drill it out, and then they were going to charge you to replace it.
And then they were going to do it poorly, and now you have to replace the entirety of the lock, and they're going to charge you something like $150 for a residential deadbolt.
Yes.
That costs no more than $50 at the big box store if they're replacing it with something useful.
Yes. So like I said, you're not just paying for someone to come out and let you open. That you're paying for someone to, especially after hours, you're paying someone to get up, leave their home, go back to the shop most of the time, get a truck or a tool or something. Because I know I don't have spare deadbolts or anything, knobs on my car. So typically we have to go down to the shop, pick up a van, go to the call, and what you're paying for is the knowledge of not destroying your property and charging you more to replace it. Now, I'm not going to say it never happens. There are some locks that are just
They're damaged or they
bad
had
springs or something where it's just not going to pick, where, yes, we do have to. But I would say that's maybe 1 out of 100 that we have to do that for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'll be honest. The other day my neighbor was locked out of a door in his basement. He went on vacation and someone locked a door to his basement that had a key, and he's like, he moved in the house 3 years ago. He'd never locked that door, and he didn't realize it had a key on it. And by the time I went to go pick it, I had picked this damn thing like 4 or 5 times, but it wouldn't turn more than past like 10 or 15 degrees. And the lock was actually broken. That's why nobody ever locked the door, is broken. And I ended up having to drill it off the door just to get it open. But that's a very rare case. And most of the time at that point, I was tired. I was kind of pissed off, and I said, "Screw this! I'm going to drill it." And it was completely broken. It's like, I said, "Look at that! You see how that cylinder's turning 10 degrees? That thing's picked. It's picked. There's no way it's not picked." And I ended up just drilling off the screws. But
Let's go back one step, because Brandon said, that we're in the Midwest and the average car is like 20 or 30. What are you driving? A pedal car?
I said 30 to 40, all right?
well, no, if you were to buy a new,
only 20,
yeah, if you're buying a new car nowadays, you're in the market, John. What are you looking at? What's the average cost?
The average cost for a Ford Explorer or a Lexus or something, a decent car, that's not bottom of the barrel pedal type car. They're $60,000 to $70,000, $80,000.
Stop buying them. I swear, Ford leaves every lot in America without selling a single truck all year because they're $100,000. They will not be $100,000 the next year. Come on, America, let's get together. Let's do this. We can beat this stuff.
Yes. No, and I think Ryan can attest to this too. We are fairly reasonable when it comes to automotive lockouts. But
oh yeah,
with that being said, he said it before, Brandon said it before, if it is an entrapment, where somebody is actually physically trapped and it's a dangerous situation, we will stop what we're doing and we will come out. And most of the time, if it's a child locked in a car, we will do it for free. Because we all have kids. We all know what it's like to be worried for them, and we're going to do that.
Just for whoever's listening, if you are watching someone's house, if your address or you don't have a piece of mail or anything that doesn't match the house, if you're not the homeowner, we cannot just go out and open the door for you because, and I understand 90% of that is legitimate. You are over there watching their dogs, let them out, they locked you out, whatever. But anybody can be anybody over the phone and say, hey, go over and I need you to go open this house for me. Another locksmith around here has had a problem with that. Didn't confirm the address with the person and went over and actually picked open the neighbor's house, rekeyed it, and it caused quite a bit of a problem.
Well, we almost had that
Yeah.
situation as well here fairly recently. Received a phone call where landlord is from out of state, owns the property and all, and he actually got us into contact with the tenant, set it all up. Ends up being that this guy creates fake leases. I mean, this lady had a lease with her name, a fake business name.
She had gotten power
was
set up
on
in
this
it.
address.
Yep.
And everything was signed, but it was a fake lease, and the real owner did not approve to sell, rent that apartment or anything. So it was pretty crazy how far they'll go just for that little bit of money.
Real landlord kind of got mad at us and said, I think we told you this before, but he's like, well, that's not what my leases look like. Well, I don't know you.
I'm sorry, you're not my landlord.
Yeah.
And we have no idea what your lease looks like. It looked very legal. We checked the ID, we checked the lease that was presented by the leaser, and they were tricked. They were scammed also. They had paid money to rent this apartment up front, first and last, plus whatever. We had stayed there for like a week.
Yeah.
And before the other landlord had figured it out. And in the end, we do make everybody sign an authorization that puts a hold harmless for us, where we're legally obligated to make sure that person has some sort of housing right to the property, whether they have to show that they're living there. They can't just be like, yeah, I live here. No, you have to have an ID that matches the address. If the ID does not match the address, we then have to check and say, do you have mail? Do you have proof that you're residing here? That the courts would say, yeah, you have access to the property. And if you don't have either of those, do you have a lease agreement or an abstract or some sort of mortgage payment that's stating that you own that property that matches the name and picture of the ID? We have to do these things. We have one really bad review and we keep going back to it because some guy called us and they wanted us to open the house for his mom who had locked the door on his dog. Brandon gets pretty mad about this.
Yeah. Use my name. And, at the time, and it's still not, but I could go back and argue that and just say, hey, no, you're full of shit. This is what happened, but we left it alone. It bothers me that he called me out my name and I can't say
we couldn't go out there without some proof of, that his mom had access to the property. And the guy's like, well, if you can't do it, I'll just call somebody else. And what ended up happening, like the next day, this guy left a bad review on on Google stating that we didn't open the house and endangered his dog because we told him we would be somewhere. And I'm telling you right now, we don't do that. We don't tell people we're going to be somewhere if they can't prove. We make people mail pictures of them holding their ID on their face with a document saying, I give permission for this person, first and last name, to the address to open the house. I own it. And
and that's what I was going to say. Like, we will go that extra mile and work with you. If you are locked out, you are watching a house legitimately and everything, okay, well, I've talked to the owners. They said, go ahead. It's okay. Well, the owners need to do this, this, and this. They need to send us a picture of their ID, preferably if they have something, a piece of mail or something that says they own the house. And I know they're on vacation, so it's going to be kind of a pain. But a lot of people, amazingly, can get into their records on their phone and pull up a deed, a water bill. They have a picture of a driver's license, and they send that over, and like, well, Okay, yeah. I mean, like I said, it may take an extra step or two, but we are willing to work with you. We're not just going to say, no, you don't own the home and hang up on you. So, but just to give you like a heads up of what you're going to have to go through if you're ever house sitting or dog sitting or anything for anyone, and you're the one that actually gets locked out of the house.
So what happens if I don't have my wallet, my keys, anything on me? Maybe I'm just in my bathrobe. I step out of the house to get my newspaper or attend to my pet and realize that I shut the door behind me and it's locked and I have nothing to prove it with. I mean, can you? How do you work with that?
That's a great question, Jason. So pretty much basically we open the door and we kind of stand in the doorway while they go and get like a piece of mail or their driver's license or anything like that.
Yeah, we do inform them that has happened multiple times of somebody in their bathrobe outside or whatever, or they went for a run and they didn't have their wallet with them. We tell them over the phone, we said, you have about a minute to show us your driver's license before we call the police. We tell them that on the phone before we even head that way.
Yeah.
So, we try to cover our bases there. Yeah, we let them in, but they lied to us. So now it's, take them away.
Yes, and then we use you on our podcast.
Yeah, and then just for those of you listening, that question was posed by Justin, our producer, but since we already have a Justin, he's now named Jason.
Yeah, sorry, Justin.
I'll be Jason.
Yes. Okay.
And, that actually happened though. One time I had to call the police because the gentleman said that, he lived there, it was his house and everything. It ended up being his girlfriend's house, but that didn't help, and I ended up having to call the police, and she was informed. She was a doctor, and he had forgot his glasses inside, so he couldn't see. So he called and said it was his house, and he didn't have any proof until he got inside the house. He did not have any proof, and I had to call the police. I mean, they ended up getting in touch with the doctor, and she said it was fine.
Well, that also just made it into a complete loss for us, too, right? Because we're basing that cost of $130 off of the fact that we're pretty good at what we're doing, and that the travel time and then roughly a half hour, and that's not because we're going to take a half hour to get into your house. That half hour is billed at the fact that I have to come in, I have to check your ID and match that. I have to then establish you to sign the hold harmless and the authorization slip. I have to pick it open. Then I have to create an invoice, and I have to get paid. All that, and the thing is, it's never like no conversation. I hand you a piece of paper, you sign it real quick, I open the house, I turn around, and I leave. Now, we have left the house in under 10 minutes.
Right.
But the average of this is coming out, and that's where we get that $130.
He didn't stay for shots.
Yeah, Brent, not all of us stays for shots. But, I think the last thing we need to touch on would be emergency openings for realtors. What are our ways to handle that? And I think that sometimes they're the most inconvenient situations because they don't want to work with us.
Yes.
Yeah. I think the biggest one is, well, I'm the realtor. And I'm Santa Claus. That doesn't mean anything. You have no rights to the house unless you have a legal document stating that you have a right to that house. Just because you sell houses doesn't mean you can get it. There's actually a scam going around where people online fake sell other people's houses, and realtors unwittingly are having locksmiths go open it to sell and show houses because they're supposed to do it. And there's nobody actually selling that house. So I think that there can be, and I don't want to piss off all of the realtors in the area, but there can be a sense of entitlement because they're a realtor that they think they have the right to be in someone's house. And at that point, no, unless you have a legal document stating this, I'm selling this house for somebody out of state, that says, hey, I give Kelly, realtor with Homes for Sale USA.
Yeah, there is a power of attorney specifically made just for selling houses.
Yeah, and we need to see that. I can't let you in. I'm sorry. And also, I'm sorry about this. I like people who sell houses, but you're not the first one to say, hey, if you give me this one for free, I'll send you a bunch of new houses and people. And it never pans out. I'm sorry. It's not that I don't trust you. It just, experience tells us I'm not going to get any free business from you. And if I don't charge you now, you're going to think you're going to get it for free every time.
But on that, I think we're going to wrap it up for today. We will be back, and next time we will be talking about Justin. What were we going to talk about?
We're going to be talking about, because it kind of rolls in from this episode into the next, with scammers. And one of the ways people have put forth of fighting those scammers is with a national locksmith license. Right now, Illinois has a locksmith license. And we're going to go into it, what we think about that and what's being proposed by a company called the Keys app, and our opinions and whether we think it actually solved the problem.
So with that, make sure you stop down and see us at 1304 West 4th Street. Give us a call at 563-322-0123. I almost said my cell phone number. And then, Josh, you want to pick up the website?
Yep, and that's jjlocks.com.
Thanks for listening to Access Granted, a podcast by J&J Access and Security in association with TAG. For more information about J&J Access and Security, visit jjlocks.com.